game. 3 huge penalties, and I think if he can bounce back and put that behind him and just learn from it, that's going to go a long way for this defense having a good game. I mean, it's not like we're playing a great offense, but I mean, this New York Jets team is now a top 10 offense in passing yards. So I think our secondary is going to have to be coming up big. And, especially if you're going to have Rasul and Jair playing zone defense and when you've got those crossing routes and making sure that their communication is really strong and they understand fundamentally where they need to be. And if you've got a running back like Saquon Barkley crossing, when and where to pick him up, I think that's going to be huge for this defense. And that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
What about you?
So we're just kind of watching the recap and doing a little bit of investigation on the Jets. I think they have something like 7 picks. So, everyone's been begging for more runs, more, better play calls for Jones and Dillon. And I learned that that's the pony, whichever announcer was saying it a bunch. I think it was Romo a few weeks back, the pony setup with 2 running backs out there. Both our guys need to have a heck of a running game because I don't see Aaron Rodgers and these younger receivers this week getting it together. I think over the next 5 weeks, we're going to start seeing some big improvements. But just where that pass game is at right now, and that defense that's going to be able to turn over the ball, especially if young receivers aren't running that route right. I'm gonna pick Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones has got to have himself a day and have a 100-yard plus day.
Yeah, I hope so for sure. And you mentioned that this is a defense that has a lot of takeaways. Well, their head coach Robert Saleh is an old defensive coordinator for the 49ers. We know really well. I mean, he played Aaron Rodgers really well for 4 seasons over there in San Francisco, and I think he's going to have a strong game plan and a scheme ready to go for A-Rod and the offense. So. Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect from them, but I'd like to see Joe Barry take a page out of the Robert Saleh book and make some frickin' adjustments at halftime. You know what I mean? I don't know what was going on in this game where you just couldn't figure it out. I mean, the Giants came out in the second half and threw the ball a lot more, and Joe Barry just didn't seem to make any adjustments. And I don't know if that was scheme or if it was just execution of the scheme by the players, but he's got to be better too.
I've been seeing some calls on Twitter. Some Packer fans are asking or calling for Mike Zimmer to run the Packers defense. What do you think of that? Next ex Vikings head coach.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about that in the offseason a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
That would be great. I mean, I'd love to have a Mike Zimmer led defense.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron always talks so highly of him, but I still have there's just flashes of greatness on this Packers team. And I think, honestly, if I could sum it all up, what we need to do to win this Jets game and get further and, get into the playoffs, and what we didn't see so far through 5 weeks is we don't have like the grit or like the it factor yet, right? There isn't the swagger about this defense yet. And offensively, there isn't like this, we're up by 2 scores. Now let's finish this right now. Right. Yeah. So there's got to be that we're not going to let anyone, run the ball on us or whatever. We got to take the ball away. We just got to, from a defense perspective, punch these offensive players in the mouth. And then offensively, when it's all going so well so early, don't take your foot off the gas pedal. And it just feels like either of those things are happening. So no matter what, we seem to be in these close games. So that's a great kind of segue into what I think is going to happen this game. I unfortunately have a feeling it's going to be another tight game, right? The Jets are better than they're supposed to be. The Packers are jet lagged. Aaron Rodgers has a slight thumb injury. He didn't practice yesterday, Wednesday, the day before we recorded this. So I just think this is going to be another nail biter. And I'm going to predict my first time ever in this podcast. I'm predicting an OT game. I do have the Packers winning 27-24. That is not covering, by the way. The Packers are favored by 7.5, down from 10.5, I believe. And the over-under is 46 points. So I do have them hitting the over, but I don't have the Packers covering the spread of 7.5 points. How about you?
I don't have the Packers covering the 7.5. I do have them winning. I'm not going to I'm not going to predict OT, although that may be the case. But I'm gonna go Packers 31, Jets 24.
I love it. Well, here's what's fun. We had a 8:30 a.m. game last week. We have our first noon game this weekend. And to quote Mark Murphy, if the Packers have a lot of noon home games, then you probably have a really crappy team. He said a different word than crappy. So it is kind of fun to be here in week 6 and just having our first noon game. I do enjoy the noon games a little bit more than the 3:30 games, but it does feel good. You feel good that we're still the team everybody wants to watch, and we got to enjoy these noon games when we get them.
For sure, if you could watch them. I mean, unfortunately, the Vikings, I'm pretty sure, are playing at the exact same time, so we're gonna have to figure out a way to watch this Packers game.
Yeah, internet, dark web. And so on. Well, I think that does it for us today. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Green and Golden Boys, a Packers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast service. Marcus, as always.
Go. I beat you to the punch there. Sorry, go ahead.
Go Pack, go.